This is the Pal Talk News Network.
The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of paltalk.com, AVM Software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you can post your comments, whether you agree with yours truly or not. No retribution, no threats of violence, no bricks through windows, no shots through windows, no broken gas lines, no slamming my car into yours. And thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, we're syndicated to an additional 12 million households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. I welcome you to the show, and I remind you, you should be going to paltalknewsnetwork.com. There you go. You should be going there early. You should be going there often, just like voting in Chicago, to check out stories that you may or may not see, hear, or read in the mainstream media. Let me turn my camera just a little bit here so it doesn't show my messy living room in the background. I'm coming to you today from my kitchen. Isn't that great how this all works? You can do the show from anywhere where you have internet access. It's awesome. Before we get into our big story, big breaking news today, because the President of the United States, Barack Obama, announced today that he is going to be signing in Prague on April 8th a new START treaty between the United States and the Russian Federation, which will reduce the threat of nuclear Armageddon. Hopefully. Our guest, Lawrence Korb from the Center for American Progress and a senior advisor to the Center for Defense Information, will be with us. Larry is a good friend to this show, and we're really pleased to have him back. But, you know, I just have to touch for a moment, ladies and gentlemen, on the continuing dialogues, rhetoric, threats that are going on now. Some pro-health care reform people are threatening some members of the GOP. So it's not just the Republicans or the Tea Party people who are threatening Democrats, but this is a little bit disturbing. Yesterday in Nashville, Tennessee, a fellow was driving with his 10-year-old kid in the car with an Obama-Biden bumper sticker, and was a victim of road rage. The guy flipped him the New Jersey salute, you know, the bird as it is called elsewhere, and rammed into his car. Road rage over an Obama-Biden sticker on the car. Thank God nobody was injured. But are you kidding me? What is this country coming to? Thank goodness, Larry Korb, nobody in the United States is pointing during this moment of discontent nuclear weapons at one another, or we'd all be in trouble, wouldn't we?
We sure would. If people had access to those and could, take that out on us, it'd all be over.
Yeah, it would. It would be all over. And, you know, actually, the two stories kind of dovetail a little bit, because what's happening is a reflection of the human condition, how easily it is for somebody or some group to get pissed off at somebody else or some other group. Maybe it's a nation, maybe it's just a group of people, and maybe try to bully the other. And if they do have nuclear weapons in their hands, I mean, this is no laughing matter. This is not just road rage where somebody's bumping into somebody else when we're looking at the global condition, is it?
Well, I think one of the things you have to be careful of, and I think one of the the good things about this treaty will make it less likely, is you don't want these nuclear weapons or nuclear materials to fall into the hands of some radical group like Al Qaeda, which would have no compunction about blowing, sneaking it in a cargo ship or something and detonating it in Times Square.
Oh, my God, God forbid. But, I mean, it is a scenario that is considered, unfortunately. In fact, here in New York City, they have retrofitted some of the fire trucks with blankets that they would put over a nuclear device to cut by 50%, supposedly, the spread of the radiation. Wouldn't stop it, but it would cut the spread of the radiation by about 50%. And I think, Larry Korb, there was some real concern after the breakup of the Soviet Union that some of those nuclear weapons that were under their control might get in the hands of terrorists. Now, have all those weapons been accounted for?
What's happened is after the end of the Cold War, you had a couple of very far-sighted senators. First, Senator Nunn from Georgia and Senator Lugar from Indiana passed what they call the Nunn-Lugar cooperative threat reduction, where we literally go in and buy this stuff up, and this has been followed on by, it's now, the Kerry-Lugar. President Obama was part of that when he was in the Senate. And so, you got two issues. One, you got the whole question of, what they call loose nukes. The other is you wanted to ensure that a lot of the scientists in Russia who were working on these things, who now are out of a job, didn't, go to some other country or other, group to help them develop it.
Exactly. Now, talking about the two biggest holders of nuclear weapons, the Russian Federation and the United States of America, between them, how many nuclear weapons do we have either pointing at one another or at least in our respective stockpiles?
Well, if you look at the stockpiles, about 20,000 that we have now. Not all of them are on operational or on alert, but you have weapons that are in storage. So you got about 20,000 total.
Wow, 20,000. So that's enough to kill each other over how many times?
Well, each one of those bombs is more powerful than the ones that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So, you've got an awful lot of, potential to destroy the world. And, to the credit of both countries, since actually going back to the time of John Kennedy, people said, hey, this is getting out of hand, and you basically, had a moratorium on testing, and then under President Nixon, you had an agreement to limit the number of these, and then as under President Reagan, who I had the privilege of working for, we began to cut them, and then after the Cold War ended, we accelerated. At one time, you had, upwards of about 60,000 of those things on both sides.
I think a lot of people don't understand, and what you just said, Larry Korb, speaks to this, that there is, thank goodness,